Welcome to our exploration of a profound and challenging aspect of Christianity, the problem of human suffering. As we embark on this journey, it's crucial to lay down the theological foundations that underpin our understanding of this complex issue. In the Christian tradition, the reality of human suffering is acknowledged from the onset. Think about the biblical narrative, from the trials of Job, a man who experienced immense suffering, to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, the ultimate symbol of sacrifice and pain. These stories don't shy away from the harsh realities of the human experience, but rather, they confront them head-on. However, these narratives also bring us face to face with a puzzling question. Why does a benevolent and omnipotent God allow suffering? If God is all-loving and all-powerful, why is there so much pain and hardship in the world? Why do the innocent suffer? This question has puzzled theologians for centuries, leading to the development of theodicy, a branch of theology tasked with justifying God's goodness in the face of the world's evils. It's a question that is as old as religion itself, and one that continues to spark debate and discussion among scholars, philosophers, and believers alike. So, as we delve deeper into the problem of human suffering within Christianity, keep this question in mind. It's a question that will guide us as we navigate the theological, philosophical, and compassionate dimensions of this complex issue. Theodicy is the theological attempt to reconcile the existence of a loving God with the existence of suffering. In this quest for understanding, various schools of thought have emerged, each providing a unique perspective on why suffering exists in a world created by a benevolent and omnipotent God. One of the most prominent theodicies is the free will defense. It suggests that God, in His love, gives humans the freedom to make choices. Sometimes these choices lead to suffering. This perspective emphasizes the importance of moral responsibility, proposing that pain and suffering often result from the misuse of our God-given freedom. Another theodicy, known as the soul-building or Irenaean theodicy, posits that suffering is a necessary part of human development. Like a blacksmith shapes a sword through fire, suffering shapes and refines our character. It is through trials and tribulations that we learn virtues like patience, courage, and empathy. Then there's the greater good theodicy. It proposes that God allows suffering because it leads to a greater good that outweighs the initial pain. It's like enduring the discomfort of a medical procedure for the sake of long-term health. In this view, suffering is part of a larger tapestry that, when seen in its entirety, reveals a picture of ultimate goodness and divine purpose. However, these explanations don't suggest that suffering is desirable or to be sought after. Instead, they offer ways to understand why a loving God might permit suffering in His creation. These theodicies also remind us that God's ways are not our ways. Our perspective is limited, and we might not see the full picture in our current state. Remember, these are not definitive answers, but attempts to understand and make sense of the complex issue of suffering. They are part of a broader conversation within Christianity, a conversation that includes not just explaining suffering, but also finding ways to alleviate it and to find meaning within it. However, another perspective within Christianity is the concept of redemptive suffering. Central to Christianity is the concept of redemptive suffering, exemplified by Christ's crucifixion. This profound idea suggests that suffering is not meaningless or arbitrary, but can have a transformative and redemptive value. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ, a moment of immense suffering, brought about the redemption of humanity, illustrating that even in suffering, there can be a profound purpose. In the Christian faith, believers are encouraged to unite their personal sufferings with the sacrifice of Christ. This act of uniting one's pain with Christ's passion is not about glorifying suffering, but about finding a sense of purpose and redemption within it. It's an invitation to transform personal pain into a spiritual journey, one that can bring about growth, understanding, and even redemption. The concept of redemptive suffering offers a unique perspective that allows believers to find meaning in their suffering, rather than viewing it as a random, meaningless event. It instills a sense of hope, allowing one to see their hardships as part of a larger narrative, a narrative that includes not just suffering, but also redemption. Through this lens, suffering is not just a problem to be solved or an obstacle to be overcome. It becomes a part of the human experience that can lead to deeper spiritual understanding and growth, ultimately bringing us closer to God. Beyond understanding suffering, Christianity emphasizes human agency in alleviating it. Christianity emphasizes human agency in alleviating suffering. It's not just about finding personal solace in faith, but also about extending a helping hand to those in need. You see, Christianity places a high value on acts of kindness, charity, and compassion. These selfless actions are more than just good deeds, they are reflections of Christ's teachings to love one another. Imagine, if you will, a world where every person acted out of kindness and compassion, where every action was driven by love and consideration for others. This is the kind of world that Christianity aspires to build. A world where suffering is not just acknowledged, but actively addressed. And it's not just about addressing the symptoms of suffering, it's also about getting to the root of the problem. By standing up against injustice, by advocating for the vulnerable, by being a voice for the voiceless, Christians are called to make a real, tangible difference in the world. That's the power of human agency in Christianity. It's not just about enduring suffering or finding personal redemption, it's about actively working towards a world where suffering is diminished, where love and compassion reign supreme. But of course, this is not the full picture. Despite these explanations, Christianity acknowledges the mystery of God's plan. It reminds us that our understanding is limited, that there's a greater narrative at play, one that we may not fully comprehend. In Christianity, there's an acknowledgement of the mystery of God's plan. The journey of faith often navigates through uncharted waters of questions that seem to have no answers. Suffering, in all its forms, is one such question. It's a profound challenge, a puzzle that can often seem insurmountable. The human mind, with all its brilliance and curiosity, is finite. It's bound by time, by experience, by the physical laws of the universe. There are limits to our understanding, thresholds we cannot cross. The wisdom of God, on the other hand, is infinite. It's beyond time, beyond our experiences, beyond the boundaries of the universe as we know it. This disparity between our finite understanding and God's infinite wisdom is a key aspect of the Christian journey. It's where faith comes into play. The acceptance of the mystery of God's plan doesn't mean surrendering to despair. Instead, it's an invitation to trust, to have faith in God's ultimate purpose. Even when suffering seems senseless, even when it's hard to grasp why a loving God would allow such pain, Christians are invited to trust in the divine plan. This trust doesn't eliminate suffering, but it can provide a sense of peace, a reassurance that there's a purpose behind the pain. It's a beacon of hope in the darkest times. Within Christian communities, pastoral care plays a crucial role in navigating suffering. Pastoral care is an integral part of Christian communities. It's the gentle, compassionate hand that reaches out in times of suffering, offering solace and understanding. The role of clergy in particular is pivotal, as they stand as beacons of faith, guiding their flock through the stormy seas of adversity. These spiritual leaders are not alone in their mission. Fellow believers, too, are called to support one another, whether it's through a prayer group, a shared meal, or simply a listening ear. The collective strength of a community can provide a lifeline to those in distress. But pastoral care extends beyond immediate personal support. It also involves guiding individuals to find comfort and resilience in their faith. For many, the belief in a loving God, even in the face of suffering, can offer a profound sense of solace. Their faith becomes an anchor, a steady force amidst the tumultuous waves of hardship. This connection to a higher power, this unwavering faith, can instill a resilience that is truly remarkable. It's a resilience that not only helps individuals navigate their own suffering, but also empowers them to reach out and help others. In this way, Christianity not only offers comfort, but also challenges believers to address systemic issues that contribute to suffering. It's a faith that heals, uplifts, and ultimately inspires action. Christianity challenges believers to address systemic issues that contribute to suffering. It's not just about understanding suffering on a theological level, but also about actively participating in alleviating distress where we see it. This is where the call to social justice comes into play. Christian teachings urge us to care for the vulnerable, the marginalized, and those in need. It's about showing love and kindness, mirroring the love Christ showed us. This active engagement isn't merely a suggestion, it's a fundamental aspect of the Christian faith. By standing against injustice, offering aid to those in need, and advocating for a fairer world, we can mitigate suffering in tangible ways. We are called to be the hands and feet of Christ, bringing hope and relief to a hurting world. In the face of suffering, Christianity offers theological insights, pastoral support, and a call to action, inviting believers to engage with this complex issue head-on.